But I think it'd be more wide. Hello,
Hello?
dog, crazy
Dog.
dog.
What were you
Let me see
saying?
if someone's at the door. Actually,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Don't worry, I'll be back.
I'll keep him entertained with
Yeah.
musings on why capitalism has failed. Am I qualified to talk about that? I don't think so. I don't know. I think I was talking to Matt earlier because we talk in places that aren't the podcast. Holy
She's barking
shit.
at a bunny.
Okay, I was just explaining to them that we talk and that's it.
That's it.
We talk. All right.
Anyways,
Should we move on to let me see what my notes say here. God, this is the worst episode. David Duke? Oh, fuck me, dude. David Duke.
that's it. All right.
David Duke. David Duke got fucking banned. I'm real loud this episode. David Duke got fucking banned off Twitter. So that's a win for the commie lefties.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't know, if you
Yeah.
good? You good?
Yeah. Yeah. You good?
You good? You've been screaming over there?
Yep.
If you don't know, David Duke is the former leader of the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan,
Yes.
and Twitter just straight up said, "Fuck you, loser," and they banned his ass. And this has the same kind of political discourse that any sort of banning does, where the rational thinkers are like, good. David Duke gone good. And the morons are like, hey, we shouldn't be silencing. Hey guys, we shouldn't be silencing anybody's voice. We should let everybody should have a place to talk. We should let everybody talk. Which one of those do you fit into, Matthew?
I mean, I'm like a mixture of both, realistically.
But with specifically David Duke.
David Duke. I mean, like, I don't think he was like saying anything about
You don't think David Duke was what?
saying anything of value.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think it was like an attack on freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It's not like they.
Can I make my argument for freedom of speech?
Okay.
So, I forgot the actual name of this thought process, but essentially, in order to have freedom of speech, you need to restrict freedom of speech, right? I think that's a fair sentiment. And America, that's an American value too. If you look at our freedom of speech, our freedom of speech is not absolute. You can't make threats against people. You can't say certain things on public television. Like, our legal freedom of speech has restrictions. I think any platform like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, any of these platforms have the right, and they do, to write up their terms of service. You agree to those terms of service when you sign up. And if you don't like them, hey, fuck you, loser, hit the road. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, that's the system that we live under. The free market shit, you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah.
So, I think especially in an online forum, it's so important to enforce these terms of services because we've seen in websites like Reddit, in subreddits like the Donald and stuff, and in 4chan, and in the poll threads, those are all just Nazis. Any place where that kind of free speech absolutism exists in a political context, Nazis and fascists have bombarded it. Even in like that one subreddit, the political compass memes.
Yeah.
That's all just dog whistling. Like, it's a lot of dog whistling. Maybe not all of it, but I think a fair share.
I would say like very minority of it. I mean, like I'm quite a browser of that subreddit.
I think a fair share. Like, I heard the argument made where, like, if you say 25% of we have 25%, right? It's each of the quadrants.
Yeah.
But, like, if you have 25% fascists, you're a fascist subreddit. Because those people just love to, like, get in there.
If you want to break down the political subreddit I can, because funny, they actually have done multiple like breakdowns of like their quadrants, and the least popular quadrant is the authority, where I think only like I think it was actually 13% was then became because they love to use the 13% prime statistic.
Well, despite making up only 13% of the
13%.
population, the author-right contributes to 50% of the propagandizing.
Yeah, I I th- here I think the issue with banning people, it's kind of like the same thing of just like if you like kind of are like in the same realm of being like possibly authoritarian, right? You are like a Nazi. It's just kind of the same line of thought, just like, oh, if you're like a leftist, you're a commie, you know. And it's not any
Yeah.
different than what we did in the '50s,
You know,
you know.
I agree. I'm not advocating for any like Red Scare type of shit.
Yeah,
But
Uh,
I do
but
think that the
I think that
leader of the KKK,
oh well, that's different. It's,
yeah,
yeah, but I think banning like let's say like Tucker from Twitter would be kind of weird because you may not like agree with Tucker, right? Unless he's like advocating for like
Tucker Carlson kind of up there. It's just a simple thing where like, okay, if you, it's the protected classes type shit, right? With some of them, some of the terms of service. I don't know if this is. I think this might be YouTube's thing, except they don't enforce it as heavily. Where they say like harassment, but basically what that means is no going against like race, gender, sex, things like that.
yeah,
And I think that's perfectly fair. But then,
yeah,
depending on how harshly you want to enforce that, you also have to enforce it on people that dog whistle the fuck out of themselves. Because there are way too many people on, like, you got your Sargon of Akkads. You have open, you have, Sargon's not an open neo-Nazi, but he's a neo-Nazi. You have open people who are spouting ethno-state bullshit who still are on their platform. And I think it's a little weird, to say the least.
Well, it's free speech is one of those things that's very common. Uh,
Yeah.
when you especially when you break down like the nuance, 'cause, I mean, like we could say that because kind of right now, like socially speaking, the left kind of has a lot of power with things. But I mean, it wasn't too long ago where kind of the roles were reversed, you know, where the left were very much silent in like the '50s.
I would
Um,
say the left has like some social clout, but at the end of the day,
well, I mean, like it's
capitalists are in power.
regarding like Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah, like again, like socially.
That's what I just said.
Okay, go.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Hey.
hey.
Or like if you go back to like the '50s and the '60s and kind of the '70s as well, it kind of stopped in like you know being a communist or even really being left of the center was kind of like problematic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people lost their jobs because of it. You know, if you were not, I think it kind of ended during the Nixon administration, especially with the Vietnam War becoming very unpopular, and that's when it was kind of okay to become left again, almost.
Yeah. I mean, I would say even now, just being like left of center is a little, it's looked down upon. I mean, you're like, just
It
to
depends on your
clarify,
well.
libs are not left.
Well, hold on. Actually, because I actually had a discussion in my geography class one time, which was weird. Because we talk, it's kind of more based on region. If you're left of center in like the DC area, that's perfectly fine. It would actually probably be more controversial if you're like right of center.
Yeah.
But if you're like in like Kansas,
Well,
it's
yeah, that's just the population density argument, right? It's like,
well, yeah, but that's
in
kind of my point.
yeah, in places of
Like,
higher population density like New York, LA, Chicago, all those areas, they're bound to be leftist. Or
yeah.
not leftist, but more left. Whereas in
So,
places like Kansas, Tennessee, all those areas, they're bound to be more right.
but arguably in like the '50s and '60s, that kind of like distinction didn't really exist as heavily. I mean, in the higher popular cities, yes, there were definitely more leftists in like, rural cities, but like in your typical American suburbs in the '50s, you know, all of them fuckers were like mad conservative, you know. And if you were like, well, you know, guys, I don't think the Soviet Union's that bad, you probably would have been lynched, just low key, you know. So
yeah.
not like actually lynched, but like
Yeah,
socially,
but, yeah.
yeah. Well, maybe if you were like darker than milk, then maybe.
Ooh.
Yee.
Glad to know we got one this episode. Ooh.
Yeah, we finally got one.
Ooh.
But yeah, I think since the left right now kind of has that social clout, at least with social media, I think we should try to use it responsibly and realize that just because you have a right-leaning idea does not mean you're a Nazi.
Yeah,
But being
I
a
would agree with
Nazi,
that. I think
being a Nazi,
I think words
is
like Nazi and fascist are thrown around a little too much.
yeah,
But I think a lot of the propaganda that's spit out by people like Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Trump, I think it's very fair to say at this point that that's fascist rhetoric.
yeah, if not just like authoritarian.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Well, there's a difference.
Come on.
There is. It's complicated, but there's a difference. It's the reason why Putin is not a fascist.
Come on. Anyways, I think colloquially they can be used or semantically, so rhetorically. That's what I was trying to say. I think rhetorically, fascistic, and authoritarian aren't exactly interchangeable, but in this context, I think they are.
A fascist and authoritarian is not.
Your audio just cut out.
Oh, a fascist is not necessarily authoritarian. Is not necessarily a fascist. Isn't.
Your audio cut out again.
Oh, Jesus Christ. An authoritarian is not necessarily a fascist, but a fascist is an authoritarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they spout blatantly fascist rhetoric, not just authoritarian.
Yeah.